Tonight, I come to you with a heavy heart. There's something we've got to talk about, and I'm just going to be honest. 20 years ago, one of my favorite songs came out, and it's been stolen from me. I'm going to tell you why up next on Bible Bros and Brew. Welcome to Bible Bros and Brew. I'm really not that depressed. I'm really on fire tonight, and you'll see why. But something did die in me today,
Oh
and I
boy.
can't wait to tell you about it. I'm of course here with my good friends Jon and Phillip. Uh, Jon, of course, as you know, is our producer on the Wheels of Steel,
Yep.
and then of course our co-hostess with the mostest is Phillip, Jon, Tyson, Michael Rich. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
I don't
Pretty
even
good.
know. I don't even know what that means, but I'm just bless the Lord. It's all good.
You guys, we are so glad that you are here with us tonight because we're reacting another week. We're reacting to something else, this time from TikTok. And if you love music and if you've ever been a fan of Christian music, you want to tune into this conversation tonight because we kind of got to work this thing out because, Christians. That's all I'll say.
Am I right?
Am I right?
You
Oh,
know,
God.
and I don't even think it's fair to say Christians because anyway, we'll talk about it in a minute. Before we do, as you can tell, I already have a nice strong cup of Joe for
Yeah,
this
boy.
conversation. So let's see what's in the cup. All right, we're gonna start with producer Jon and
Hey,
find out, Jon, what's in the cup.
let me tell you something. I don't know if you've noticed it's been getting a little hot outside. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the country we live in is absolutely amazing. Put those two things together and you get something like a coffee like this. This is Joffrey's coffee. Yeah, that's
From
right.
Disney?
From Home
What
Goods.
the heck?
It's called the Star Spangled Brew.
Oh, snap.
No, I
Dude.
remember all the Joffreys all around Epcot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah, they just make coffee, like for us to be able to buy and ground beans and everything. This one in very particular stood out to me because obviously I don't know if you can tell, America just makes sense.
Come on now.
It's a
Yes.
strong blend or sweet blend of nuts and maple. And I don't know about you, say what you will about the Canadians, but America does maple better, personally. Don't
Oh, my
shoot me, please.
Mm.
Don't hurt me. But
Mm.
it's a great blend. It tastes. It just. I don't need any creamer. I'll just say it at that. I'll just leave it at that.
Wow.
No creamer required.
Dang. Okay.
Somebody better tell the Canadians.
You know what? If they can even talk to people outside of this country, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, don't play with that Vermont, New Hampshire maple though, because that is nothing to play with. I will say that.
Yeah. They don't play around.
So, who would have thought that we would go out in this world and be together and become fond of the most northeastern region of this country, of
Yes.
all places, of all places.
Yes.
We just love it up there. Anyway, Phillip, before we go forward, I just want to, Jon just said, talked about the America. And as you all know, we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of the 4th of July, 1776 and all that. But this
Yeah.
Sunday, they did a great event that I'm really, I guess I'm proud of our country for doing. It's called Rededicate 250, where they got together and called the country to rededicate and return to God.
Wow.
Wow.
Our president kind of headlined that. We heard from the many of the cabinet members, but a lot of preachers were there, and a lot of worship music, a lot of good worship music, and a real call to a heart change and to point this thing in the right direction. So for those who put that on, I toast you for that, because that's exactly what this country needs. It
Mhm.
needs God above all else.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
Certainly.
and then followed by various forms of literacy. But we'll talk about that later. Golly. Sorry. I'm
Don't be.
sorry.
I know you meant it. Don't be sorry.
That's another episode. Yeah. Philip, what's in your cup before I get in trouble?
Okay. I have in my cup this evening the wonderful brew of Peregrine. Oh boy.
What?
It's funny when it starts to get old to fill.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, dude, I know everybody's. I mean, if you're a betting person, and if this was on, Kalshi or one of the platforms, you could.
Yeah,
you could
Kelsey,
spend
yeah.
tons but yeah, it's the Guatemala decaf. This is such a great coffee, man. It's got this kind of nutty flavor. It's got this almost like a smoky situation going on, but it's super good, dude. And I mean,
Nice.
the thing is, when you drink a decaf, you don't want it to taste like decaf, and it's kind of lame and not great. But their decaf, I mean, even if they didn't have any calf and all they offered was this one, I would feel like my coffee needs were being met. So,
Nice.
yeah, shout out to Peregrine for another banger with the Guatemala decaf. Oh gosh. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. I will have run my race at that point. So
Right.
when your own folks get you. Tonight, thank you, Philip. Tonight I am drinking because I needed, and I think I drank this a couple of weeks ago. So sorry for repeating it so quickly. But
well,
I am
you're
drinking.
talking about a guy who hasn't done anything but talk about Peregrine.
You do different.
We started this podcast.
You do different roasts, though, so that's different.
Amen.
But I am drinking, actually, of all coffees, Members Mark,
Cool.
and I am drinking their sweet cream liqueur.
Sweet cream.
It doesn't, as you can imagine, have liqueur in it, but it has that kind of flavoring, that kind of bent to the flavoring notes of it all.
Okay.
So again, I needed a strong coffee tonight because I feel like a strong word is going to come.
Ooh, won't he do it?
So the other thing, so that's what's in our cup. Before we jump to the next segment, I also want to just remind you the new Bible Bros and Brew website is out there, and it's waiting for you to come visit. You can go to BibleBrosBrew.com, and you can go through the website. You'll find links to the podcast. You'll get to see a little bit of a story about how we came to this podcast and how it came to be about Philip and I. You'll get to find out about the other new thing that we've released, and that's our 14-day devotional called I'm Over It. I think you're going to love this devotional. It is already selling, and I'm just so excited about that. Philip, you and I are officially authors. Now, authors, and not just because we put a book out, but because we've actually had people purchase the book. Hey,
Come on,
boy.
Hey.
Come on now.
Won't he do it? And so I'm Over It is available now. You can go to our website, which is Bible Bros Brew /merch. And remember, it's not Bible Bros and Brew. It's Bible Bros Brew /merch and .com /merch. And you can find the book there. You can order it from Gumroad. But this is a great book because one of the things about it is that, I think that one of the things that I love about the book, and I'm kind of torn because I love the conversation around the story of Elijah and Jonah. And these are two men who were going about meeting what God wanted from them in two very different ways. And again, I'm overwhelmed by how we see the goodness of God show up even in these horrible situations. And it just proves to me and it shows me that even in the worst situations, God not only sees you, but he comes to you as you are, not demanding of you, but sitting beside you and working it out. And
Yeah.
so it was good to see. It's heartening to know. And I hope that as you guys read this, you'll pull from it some of the same things that we do, but then follow the strategy that's in the book because it's designed to walk you to a place where you move from over it to ready to take the next step while
Yeah.
you're in the midst of taking steps. So again, you can grab that on our website. You can also search for it on Amazon. It is an ebook, so make sure you drop that on your Kindle or your ebook reader, or even just download it to your computer. All right, let's jump into the word tonight. So,
Yes.
um, let me just. So the way this we're still in our series where we're reacting to some things that we're seeing on social media, and this just actually happened to me last night. But I saw this post on TikTok from a group that I've loved for years called Avalon. Um, Avalon, first of all, two of my favorite singers come from that group. A gentleman by the name of Jody McBriar and a young lady named Jana Long. Look, the whole group could sing. Don't get it twisted. And I'm not talking about sing, they could sing. They could get down with you. But then Jody and Jana, they could go. They could sing and go. If you know, you know. They could sing and go. And so I've always, from time to time, I've gone back and listened to their music. They had a remix album that was really dope. And so I put that together. But John, if you could pull up that uh, clip of Avalon, that Testify Love, do you have that one?
Yep. This one right here.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I got this clip from TikTok yesterday as I was scrolling through. It popped up, and then it's one of those where it's playing the song Testify to Love, a great song from back in the day. And then it's got this little picture carousel that you can go through, and then it tells the story. And it starts with Testify to Love now really means what it was talking about. And I'm like, okay, that's odd. And then when you dig into the story a little bit more, you find out that one of the members of the group has actually come out as gay. And so it's like, okay. And then we also find out that he's getting married. And so one of the girls in the group, not Jana Long, but the other girl in the group, uh, actually ends up officiating the wedding between the two gay men. And so then to add to it, the two gay men and the girl who officiated their wedding, who was one of the original members of the group, get together and they redo this song Testify to Love with a gay choir in the background.
Oh my God.
You're wrong for that. And
John, but then you and me at the same time, bro. Oh
so
gosh.
Immaculate.
and then they come out saying that this song finally means what it says. And I'm not going look, our point is tonight is not to argue gay marriage. or homosexuality or any of that stuff. The reason why is because I don't feel like I have to or we have to. The word says what it says, and our job is not to argue with people about the word says, but our job is to love people to life. And so
Mhm.
if you're struggling with homosexuality, you're walking that out in your life, we got no beef with you. We don't look down at you, think that you're lesser than or anything of that nature. Uh, we're just wanting to walk with Christ. And if you need somebody to walk with Christ with you, then we're on board to be of help to you. But what I do want to talk about is I want to talk about Christian music because I got pretty mad when I saw this. And again, some of you would think I'd be mad because of the homosexuality slant. That has nothing to do with it. I'm not mad about that. I'm mad because I've gotten to a point where I feel like so many of our Christian artists from back in the day were either lying to us, they were singing one thing but living alternative lifestyles, which meant they didn't really mean what they were singing. They were just singing words on a page, or maybe they were only meant it partially, or they wanted to mean it, but whatever it may be. And when you look at it, and I'm going to name names, when you look at, now you've got Avalon, then you had Kevin Max from DC Talk. Now you've
Mm.
got all this stuff with Michael Tait from DC Talk. And if you thought Kevin Max's deconstruction was an issue, then I don't know what you think about what Michael Tait had.
Oh my God.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And then you've had artists like Plumb and some others, Gungor, and different groups and people like that throughout that are calling themselves, they're now deconstructing. And amongst them is Amy Grant now, who seems to be deconstructing her faith and questioning things and moving, I hate to say it this way, but going towards a more woke perspective about life and things, and seeming to, as they always do, and woo Jesus, creating a spirituality of their own design.
Come on, bro.
Everybody crafting this variation of deconstructed but still Christian, so they can say they're spiritual but they don't believe in that. So they want a gospel, they want the a la carte gospel, the one that you can go and pick and choose what you do and don't want, and call that a deconstructed faith. But I said something to Philip, and I said it to John as well, and I talked it over first with my wife, and it was like, I'm starting to feel like these Christians are lying to us.
Mm.
Now, you could either be lying to me now or you lied to me in the past, but I'm at a point now where I don't trust Christian music. I've always had some questions about some of the things that I was hearing, because when you look at what the word says and you listen to what some of these people sing, they don't add up.
Right.
Mhm.
What people
Right.
are singing, they're not, I don't need you don't have to word for word sing the word, but could you sing in context to the word
Yeah.
Right.
instead of this kind of creation of your own that was your fever dream about God, but he wasn't in it. And
Mm.
so
Yeah.
I found myself over the years, and Philip, I know you can relate. I found myself distrusting Christian music and rather listening to some 80s music, some old 90s stuff, or trusted Christian music that I know I can trust. I know I can lean in on some CC Wine. CC Winans might be the only person in the Christian music industry truly saved.
Mm.
I'm
Come
just
on, bro.
playing. But I trust CC Winans. And part of the reason I trust her, I trust, Fred Hammond and Donnie McClurkin and some other artists. Part of the reason why is because when they mess up, when they got things going on in their lives, they're at least open about telling us they're struggling.
Yeah.
And while it's going on, we live with everybody else's secret sin until we find out about it 20 years later and find out for all of these years, you stood on a stage, you talked to people about God, you told them there was one way while you were living as though there were multiple ways.
Mm.
And I just believe that if you're going to be somebody that's going to be on a platform, you're going to be on a pulpit, you're going to be on a stage, that there is a higher responsibility and a higher calling for you than there is for just the average Joe walking around, because you put yourself in a position like a teacher, like somebody who's been called by God to be in that position. And while we have a responsibility to lead our own lives, we should be able to look to certain leaders in the body of Christ and know that we're being led in the right direction. I'm going to stop right there for just a minute. Philip, what's your thought?
Wow, it's a lot going through my head right now. But in terms of Christian music and just in general, you have to learn how to separate between Christians who make music versus the Christian music industry. You know, there's a big gap between those two, because I do like, and I know you know this as well, David and John. It's like there are several what I consider to be sincere artists out there who are believers, who love the Lord, and who make good music. I'm thinking of people like Josh Garrels and Jonathan Ogden and Sunday
Yeah,
and Victory Boyd. I mean, people who just, you know, you can sense in their music there's a sincerity there and there's a genuineness
yeah.
there. And that to me is that's my measure of whether or not I can, like you were saying, David, some names I can't trust in the Christian music sphere, but because I cannot, and I mean this very strongly, I cannot listen to about 99% of Christian music out there. Like
Mm.
I would rather, gosh, I don't even want to say what I'd rather do. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Look,
I
like
just
you'd rather do anything but listen to that?
Yeah, exactly. It's because it's formulaic. It's not creative. They don't even know but about two chord progressions, and
Mhm.
it's the most generic, bland sounding corporate LinkedIn garbage that you could
Wow.
ever hear. Sorry. Let me back up. Let me not.
No,
Let me
no, no,
not
no, no,
calm
no,
down.
no. Please continue to roll, my brother.
I feel like it's lazy for the most part. Most of the stuff you hear on K Love, it's lazy stuff. It's things
Yeah.
where they just feel like if you put in that boilerplate beat with the same chord progression, G A D B or whatever it might, and then you know you throw a little God in the lyrics. Everybody's supposed to gobble it
Right.
up like it's something good. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't play your game. I'm sorry, and some people are like, well, I mean, the music's glorifying God. You should like it. No, no, bro. I
Who's
don't like
God?
what I don't like.
It's
You
yeah,
know,
it's can I speak into that a little bit? I think that
please.
I know exactly what you mean, because it's like, to me, I hear there's like the pop radio station, and then you have the Christian filter version of that, where like I can almost vividly remember, I forget what the song is called, but when Taylor Swift uh released, what was it called? It was like Shake It Off.
Oh, okay.
There was, I think it was, I forget what Christian band, but they essentially created the same song, but their version, but like Jesus, you know what I
Oh,
mean? And it was
that's
like,
the worst. That's
and
the
that was
worst brand of
right.
Christian music. Is
And it's like,
Mhm.
but that
oh,
was the industry. It's like, and that's just one example, but there were like time and time again, whatever popular song there was, just the industry would just create something that sounds almost like it by a trusted
mhm,
Christian artist or band.
mhm.
And then that's what we're pushing out, because it sounds like, if you feel convicted about listening to the official, licensed version, it feels like the watered down Christian Great Value brand, version of the pop song. And it sucks, because it's like, why does the Christian version of the song have to be the watered down version of the
I
song? You know
know.
what I mean? Like,
It's
and
Right.
it's and then the second thing is the comment about creativity. Again, your industry is to tap into what the pop industry already is, when you're supposed to be representing a God that is infinite in creativity and knowledge and
Come on.
wisdom, and
Come
all
on.
you do is just copy what somebody else is doing. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, it's it irritates me because you can represent God in so much. Well, we can get into it a little bit later tonight, but I have a few examples of some new artists coming up that share the same fatigue, and
Yeah,
they're
we should.
changing the industry.
Yeah,
That's
we
good.
should give you guys some names too. But you know what? You're absolutely right, Philip. Because for part of it, and I've argued this because I am a creative, and you know, I think I've said it on this podcast before. Acting and film, stage, doing all that stuff, enjoying and being part of music, musicals, all of that kind of stuff. I continue to ask Christians all the time, is God so bankrupt
Mm.
that he won't give you something fresh and new?
Mm. Come on.
He
Come on, bro.
can't be. He's infinite, but see, it shoots at the heart of what the real problem here is. It doesn't matter whether or not we can't, or it's more deeply. One of the reasons that we can't, I feel like I can't trust music from back in the day because 20 years later you're going to pop up and tell me some other stuff, or I'm looking at all of you Christian artists and former believers, Joshua Harris, who wrote the book I Kissed Dating Goodbye, and all of you deconstructioners. And what I've come to realize, and this is the problem with all of us, is that nobody, I can't, it doesn't seem like anybody wants to do what's necessary to draw near to God.
Mm. Come
It
on, man.
seems it seems like nobody, you know, I part of the reason people deconstruct, and then they want to start blaming, it's the church, it's this, it's that, and I'm like, no, it's your failure to guide and maintain your own spiritual walk.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That
Yeah.
God never in all, just go back and read over the New Testament. When God formed the church, it was a piece of your puzzle. It wasn't the puzzle, the pie, the knives, the plates, the napkin, and everything. And if all of a sudden everything didn't go well at church, then all of a sudden your whole life falls apart. In fact, what we call church, as in going to these buildings, because we called the buildings the church, it's we, the people, who are the church. You're the
Yep.
church. I'm the church. Philip's the church. John is the church. The church is individuals. It's not these buildings, which means that we are individual churches who have a responsibility to maintain and walk out this Christian walk.
Yeah.
But instead, we want to blame other people for where we're coming up short. We want to blame people. Yes, I realize that people have gone through trauma. Some of you have been traumatized by people that have been in the church building. But you know what I also realize? Some of you wouldn't have been traumatized if you'd been maintaining your own Christian walk.
Yeah.
If you had been driving your way and studying and spending time in God's word to help you to discern, all the bad things that happen at your church, you don't think God, the great discerner, wouldn't give you discernment to realize something's wrong and tell you to move on?
Right.
We give God a bad rap in all of this, and I don't think we even realize that we give God a bad rap. And the reality is, we made an emotional decisions to connect at that church, or we made the emotional decision to stay at that church, or we allowed ourselves to feel like we have to be there because of works, or we have to be there because nobody ever told me you could leave a church, and all of these reasons. But if we don't take responsibility and control over driving our own Christian walks and maintaining that walk, then there's always going to be a falling away. There's always going to be a deconstruction. There's always going to be, you know, for so long, I believe there's so many Christian artists who the only reason they became Christian artists was because they couldn't make it in the secular world. So they did their secondary track because it was easier to get into the Christian world.
Mm.
Wow.
And so they took the Christian music slant to get in and then hope that they could get big enough to one day go out and release secular albums. See Amy Grant.
Oh, spicy.
And so, and I'm not saying that's necessarily what she did, but she got to a certain place. Then all of a sudden she goes out and does the Baby Baby album and all of that good stuff. And then, you know, she talks about, I'm going to shut up after this, Philip. I'm sorry. She, you know, there's talk about her deconstructing now. And I'm like, no, you just have never, doesn't seem like maybe you fully recovered from all of the elements of the sin that you got caught up in way back in the day. Have you come to grips with the fact that God's forgiven you and that regardless of what people say, no man can judge you and no man can pluck you out of his hand. So go on and live your life and live it in peace and not worry about the people and trust that. But see, here's what happens when we sin. We disconnect from God, and then as he calls us back in, we struggle. We struggle with him calling us back in, not because God's not good and not because he's not calling, but because we say in ourselves, I'm not worthy to come back in.
Yeah.
And because you've deemed yourself unworthy, you now struggle with the call. God's like, come on, dude, let's go. And you're like, you know, Lord, I remember not too long ago calling my dad and saying, Dad, I'm struggling right now. I was feeling backslidden at that point. And it wasn't that I'd done anything particularly wrong, but I'd gotten into this rut in my thinking about why would God use me with all the stuff that I'd done. And I was pouring over all the wrongs that I'd done, all the people that I had wronged, all the hurt that I caused, the pain that I caused my parents, the pain that I caused my family, the mistakes that I made that hurt other people. And I just got into a rut of it over a few days and was struggling to pull myself out of it. It wasn't because God wasn't like, I'm right here and we're good. It was me struggling with my own stuff that was giving me the problem. But do you know what I had to do? I had to maintenance my own walk with the God, and I had to continue to walk despite what I felt at that moment. And I can tell you now, I don't feel that way. I'm strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And God will use me mightily. He will speak to me. He will lead me and guide me. And I can trust him for that, not because I've done any good, but because he's good.
That's right.
Philip, you talk. You talk. I've been talking too long.
No, but in terms of what you were talking about earlier with the Christian music and some of the Christian artists that have recently come out, and it seems like what they've done is some kind of a complete 180 reversal of what they used to be or what they used to stand for. And the whole phrase deconstruction or I'm deconstructing my faith and that type of thing. I've been thinking about this a lot. I know we've talked about deconstruction before on the podcast, but when we talk about deconstruct, like it's a fancy flowery word that just means I don't really believe the stuff I used to believe. That's really what it boils down to. But if you want to talk about it like in a more literal sense, how would you deconstruct like a building, or something like that? You would take it down piece by piece. And I would suspect that if somebody was willing to do that with their Christianity, like take it apart piece by piece and really look at what it was founded on to begin with, you might be surprised that the Word of God may not have been the foundation.
Right.
And I think that's probably the biggest issue is we put trust in people that honestly, and I don't mean no harm, but we put trust in people. But we put trust in people that didn't deserve it.
Yep.
There's no indication that because you're a Christian singer, that means you're also spiritually mature. There's people out there who, I mean, they barely even I'm sorry, they barely even have a relationship with God, but they don't mind singing Christian music in front of
Oof.
thousands of people.
Mm.
And you find out later, oh my gosh, man, they're doing all this stuff behind the scenes. It's hard to reconcile the idea that they could do this stuff, and honestly, some of them living a complete double life. Like it's hard to reconcile that idea that they could live a double life, but also, be up here singing Christian music. I can't reconcile that with them having an actual genuine relationship with God. It was not founded on God's word, but founded on something else.
Yeah.
And it could even be just founded on, okay, you had an amazing experience at a evangelist meeting or whatever, and you got saved and cried and felt this emotional whirlwind and felt like God was with you. And from that point, I gotta start telling people about God. I gotta start singing for God. But did you ever get grounded in the word? Did you
Come
ever get
on.
grounded in the scriptures, dude? That's the only thing that's going to help you stay the course over the long haul. It's not about all of the emotional whirlwind and all the, it's not even about the Christian groups you can connect with or the church that you can go to. All those things are great, but at the end of the day, they're still ancillary. The big thing, the main thing is knowing who God is through what he said in his word. If you
Mhm.
never develop that, you're subject to fall away like anybody else because you're the second ground in the parable of the sower. You're the rocky soil that's being excited for a little while, but when the time of temptation comes or when the time of trial and testing comes, you fall away because you had no root.
Yeah.
And so
That's so good. That's so good, Philip.
praise
I
God.
want, I
Praise
want
God.
Night Horse said something here, and I completely agree. They said seriously though, Christians should have the best music.
Mhm.
God is really serious about music, and you're 100% right. He
Yep.
is. When you make an angel, Lucifer, who is an instrument,
Come on now.
Right.
Come on now.
it tells you something about how God felt about music. And I think that's why, there's people who don't really care for music a bunch, but music does something to you.
Right.
Music is connected to memories. It's like I, Philip and I go back and listen to 80s and 90s music. And sometimes every time I hear a song, I can remember where I was
Yep.
and I can go back in that moment. There's music that Christian music that I've listened to that I remember that during that time I was traveling heavy for a church that I worked in, and I was traveling all over the country, but there were soundtracks to my travel. I had
Mhm.
a soundtrack to my vacation in Florida, and it's not that I created one to start with. It was just all these songs that kind of poured out in the mix. That now this particular song is forever linked to this. Dietrich Haddon is linked to Texas, and that kind of stuff. Music is such an important part of us, and I even think that music. I'm sure music brings healing in our lives. Music helps to calm our nerves. Music helps us to think and see things more clearly. There's so much that music does in our lives that I don't think God would handle it loosely.
Yeah.
But when we treat it as casually as we treat our walk with Christ, then there's no wonder that it could create problems. And here's what I mean by create problems. I was looking at some data today, and one of the things that data said was that, and ready for this, it says that Christians' practical theology is more shaped by music than it
Mm.
is by the Word of God.
Wow.
Mm.
And then it
Wow.
goes further to say that they'll hear a sermon once a week, but they hear that song over and over again, day out, day in. They're singing it, they're rehearsing it. And, you're actually putting that music to work in the same way you should be putting the word to work.
Right. Right.
And So then it's no wonder that when the artist sings, he gives and takes away. You're like, God gives, God takes away. And you believe that that's true with no anchoring in the word to say, God, is that true? Do you give and take away? You
Mm.
know, I heard a certain Christian artist, and that's why sometimes I get touchy about their music. They came to our church and did a concert, and she made the statement in between songs. Sometimes God has to smash you down like a basketball on the ground so that you could bounce back up.
Oh, snap.
I'm like, really? Bro? Really? God's out here smashing people down on the ground so they could bounce back up and know that he's God? You got to
Mhm.
be playing with me. But we hearing all of these things, you guys. I'm just telling you, we need to be careful with our Christian music. And there comes a point where you have to be careful about what you're listening to and who you're listening to. The reality is back in the day, I would listen to Avalon and I thought what they were singing was accurate and correct. I'm disappointed today because they're trying to tell me that what they were saying then wasn't the truth. What they're now saying is the truth. And that's the lie. And we've got to start holding, some of these people accountable. So am I going to buy the new Testify to Love? No. I'm not playing your video. I'm not liking your little reel or whatever you got going because I'm not going to invest my time and effort in a Christian artist who is trying to drive me in a direction that I know is wrong. And that's what we have to start doing with Christian artists. We have to start saying, "What? Look, I'll put it to you this way: Snoop Dogg back in the day had a gospel album. Bet you didn't know that.
I
Snoop
remember
released a
that, dude.
gospel album, and there are about two or three good songs on it. From time to time, I've listened to those songs. Uh, they're good songs. They're saying normal stuff, but I'm not deceived about who Snoop is.
Right.
But see, I was deceived about, or at least recently deceived by who or what Avalon is. And at least with Snoop, I know he's Snoop. He's going to be Snoop, and he's going to continue to be Snoop in the future. And I know what it's about for him. It's about that money.
Mhm.
And so at least I know what I'm dealing with. With so many Christian artists, sometimes you don't even know what you're dealing with. And at some point, we deserve, as the consumers, we owe it to ourselves to rightfully discern what we're listening to and trust God to tell us no, trust God to tell us yes.
Yep.
I've said enough on this, Philip. I'm still I'm still mad.
Well, may I entertain us with a scripture to close us out here?
Come on,
Um,
scripture.
in Colossians 3, John, if you don't
Yes,
mind
sir.
pulling up the Bible,
I got you.
Bible, Bible.
Whoa. Hold
By
on.
the way, just as a side note, I am going to be adding a resources page soon. I just thought of this. Should have thought about that earlier on the Bible Bros and Brew page. Some of
Yeah.
the resources that Philip and I are constantly going back to that will be helpful to you. So there'll be links to Bible Hub and
Hmm.
eSword and some other tools that I think will be helpful to you.
That's great. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, John, if you could scroll down, I think it's like verse 15, maybe.
Okay.
Let's
Philip,
see.
Philip, you must personally be in Colossians right now in your life.
It's my lived experience right now.
Shared experience.
But in verse 15, I think this is just I think it's appropriate in terms of like when you're trying to discern what artists to listen to, what not to listen to, and that type of thing, what resonates with your spirit, what doesn't. I always like the scripture in that regard. It says, "And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. When you look at the other translations of that, there's several that I think are awesome, but one of them in particular says, "Let the peace of God act as an umpire." And like in baseball, the umpire calls something either safe or out. And so that's kind of what you have to do with some of the music that you're listening to, Christian and basically otherwise as well. It's like uh, when your heart's been trained in the Word, and you've been filling yourself with the right things. Then when you come across something, because I've heard some Christian songs that for whatever reason, even if the lyrics sounded okay or whatever, there was something about it that didn't jive with me. Something I couldn't put my finger on it all the time, but it was something about the song or about the vibe of the song that I was like, I mean, it's Christian in name or in label, but it ain't doing it for me, for what I'm letting the peace of God rule in my heart where that's concerned. And some of it I just shut off. I'm like, let me give you an example. In the realm of Christian hip hop, which, boy, talk about a cringe fest for most of it. But in the realm of Christian hip hop, there's been some people that have come out, and this is probably years and years ago, but there was one guy in particular, and bless his heart, he probably meant well, but the whole content of his songs was always about how he's killing demons. And in his songs, he was giving some of the most graphic descriptions of how he's killing demons. I'm slitting their throats and I'm, shooting them in the head. I'm serious, but it
Wow.
was all like in a hip hop song, sounds the same as the ones in the secular arena that talk about actual killing and shooting and stuff like that. But over here, instead of him killing and shooting some dude around the block, he's killing and shooting demons and stabbing him in the stomach and all this kind of stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, now I know what you probably mean. I think you probably have you have some level of good intentions, maybe. I'm pretty sure that you're trying to show that we're strong in God and we can defeat these demons or whatever it might be. But the imagery that those words produce in people's minds is not something that I would say would be godly, if that makes sense. It's like I'm hearing the things you're saying, and yes, I know you're saying the word demons, but in my mind, I'm picturing a person doing that to another person in some kind of a way,
Right.
or at least a humanoid looking thing, whatever. So I still get the picture of something that's graphically violent, but yet this is supposed to be Christian music. And I can't reconcile those two things. And so I heard this artist because a friend of mine tried to turn me on to this dude. He was like, "Hey man, you gotta check this dude out. He's awesome, man. He can rap good." Da, da, da. And so that's when I tried to listen to it, and I knew like almost instantly, I don't want to listen to this stuff. It in my mind, it honestly doesn't seem any different than the ones out there who were talking about this stuff back in the day, all the gangster rap that was around for a while back. So things like that, I had to let the peace of God rule in my heart and go, nah, I'm calling that one out, dude. I'm not. I can't go with you on that one, man. So just because it has a Christian label on it doesn't always mean that the vibe is good behind the song or that it's honestly promoting the right things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. And these last just a couple of quick minutes. Let's give people a few artists that you listen to that are Christian artists, that are not necessarily old heads, but newer music, so they can go and check some stuff out.
Yes. John, you first, Gen Z.
Listen, I do want to point out that there are a lot of younger people out here making this music.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the thing that'll stick out to me, Forrest Frank. I can listen to Forrest Frank without a hint of conviction because everything that he has been creating and he'll put it out there. It is rooted in the word, and he'll put the word into music oftentimes. I listened to him before he was cool in the Christian community. Just throwing that out there.
Yes.
But the appeal to me was that he was using these biblical hymns and actually making them into like these almost like lo-fi beats. Really cool stuff. Can't go wrong with him. And then you'll have for me, I have like, of course, there are Christian artists, but then there are artists who are Christian, but their music isn't Christian music, but you can obviously tell through their music that they are in deep relationship with the Lord. To me, some people that'll stick out are people like NF, people like John Michael Howell, a significant favorite of mine. Um, you have people like Connor Price, a hip hop artist. There was one more that I want to put up that my wife has actually put me on. His name is Hulve, Hulve.
Yep.
Yeah, like again, I'm seeing a major revival in young Christian artists who are just tired of, like you guys are mentioning, the same four chords and the same old. They're so over it
Yep.
that they decided to make their own music, and it is
And
beautiful and fruitful.
That's
that's
awesome.
the way to go. And let me
Yep.
tell you, Big C is no different than Big Beef, Big Food, and
Big
all that.
tobacco.
Big tobacco, big Christian music. The Christian
Mhm.
music industry isn't even owned by
That's right.
Christians anymore. It's
Yeah.
owned by regular secular record labels who are
Yep.
already crashing and burning because they no longer have control over the music industry. You can
Yep.
get hot creating your music on Instagram, on TikTok, and letting people hear and build your audience that way, build your album that way, start selling it, start streaming it, and people will be trying to figure out who you are. And you didn't have a record label behind you. There's no
Mhm.
need for a record label anymore.
No,
It's
no.
not like early on when I wanted to do Christian music and stuff like that. You had to have somebody in the label, you had to connect all that. You don't have to do that anymore.
Nope.
Philip,
Nope.
did you have any more that you wanted to add besides the ones that you added earlier?
I mean, I just wanted to reiterate those guys because I really do love their music. Josh Garrels, amazing. Victory Boyd loves the Lord with her whole heart. Sunday, I'm telling you, that's one of the most
Yeah.
slept on
He's
artists
dope.
out here right now.
He's
This
Yeah.
dope.
dude, I love Sunday. And then Jonathan Ogden. I really, and which David, you're the one that kind of put me on to Jonathan Ogden. I had not heard of him until you played his song one time, and I was like, dude, that's awesome. So yeah, those are my faves right now for in the Christian arena, man. How about you, Dave?
I'm gonna give you 6 real quick. Because one's a bonus. Um, the first one is a guy named Six Cent. He's lo-fi beats.
Nice.
Um, and so there's a little lo-fi. Jonathan McReynolds is more of a kind of male gospel artist,
Yeah,
but he is dope. And what makes him so dope is he writes the truth about your situations and circumstances. He is
yeah,
a true singer songwriter like we used to have them.
yeah,
Of course, Jonathan Ogden, like Philip did, said there's a track. I forget the album. No, the album was he's got an album that's called, I think it's called 24.
yeah, yep.
And yeah, it's 24. But
Hmm.
there's a track on there that's like hour number 2200. I have to look
Hmm.
at it, but it's one of the dopest beats. One
Is
of
it
the
called Found? Is it Found?
yeah, I think it's found. Yes, yes, yes.
Dude, that beat. Ah, okay.
Man, that
Yeah,
beat so
yeah.
dope. And
Ah,
the problem with that song is it's too short.
too short. It's too
Too
short.
short.
Yeah, I know
Another
exactly what you're
group
talking about.
is a Scandinavian group, kind of for your pop needs. They're called Lin D.
Okay.
So they're really dope, and they love God. I'll give you another kind of a gospel slash R&B kind of guy. His name is Jason Nelson. Phenomenal singer. He's also the pastor of a church, and he is a genuine walker with the Lord. And then finally, I want to give you a band kind of in the, if you've ever heard of Mint Condition, um, Red
Oh,
Red Hands. They like used to play for I think Jimmy Kimmel or one of those late night groups, but they also as a band are Christians.
Mhm.
And
nice.
so they release their own albums, and they're always typically Christian albums. And so they've just got it's dope music for you to vibe out to. So there you go. Well, we hope that is helpful to you. We've given you some people to listen to. Um, we hope this hits right with you, and we
Yeah.
hope we're helping you in some way to just rethink about Christian music. Um, and I'll tell you, I'm not trying to give you a reason to go on TikTok or Instagram, but if you're in a certain slant and TikTok and Instagram kind of feed you Christian stuff, you're going to hear some new Christian music that you've never heard before. The only thing I would tell you to do is be cautious, because everybody who's singing about love and energy isn't talking about God's love and God's energy.
Right.
So you have to always have your discernment on. Don't forget that you can get our new book, our new devotional, I'm Over It. You can get it on Bible Bros Brew /merch. You can check out the new website. And guys, next week, I'm going to have something else new for you that you just may want to get your hands on. I can't wait to tell you about it. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram. I don't know where else we are. We're out there. Rumble, YouTube. Come find us. You can also find out where we are on our website. Until next time, I'm David. That's Phil. That's John. And we are out.
Peace.
Love and soul.